Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today I wanted to talk about an experience that's fairly new to me. I am 22, and the fact that everyone around me that's kind of my age, whether it's people I grew up with, people I went to school with, or my friends, or whatever the fuck, this is kind of the first time in my life where everyone is in a very different phase in their life, and it is quite fucking strange of an experience. Like I said, I'm 22, and I have friends that have children, and I have friends that are engaged, and I have friends that have no idea what the fuck they're doing with their life, that are unemployed. I have friends that are traveling the world. I have friends that are moving, buying a house with their boyfriend. And there is no consistency whatsoever to what anyone at my age is fucking doing anymore, okay? And this is very cliche of your 20s. Everyone's going at different paces, and for the first time in your life, you look around at your kind of social circle and you're not all on the same level anymore. When you're in school and college and uni or whatever, like, you're all kind of going along at the same pace. Whereas now, I look around and there is no such thing as normal anymore. And, this can be quite unsettling. In a way, it's quite fun and exciting, and it's crazy to think that I'm at that age now where, like, things like getting engaged and moving in with your partner, it's not that abnormal. And that's fucking crazy to me because I feel like a child. Like, I feel like a baby. It's very easy to start playing the comparison game. It's very easy to look at your friends or people around you that are your age and feel, start comparing and being like, am I behind? Are they going faster than me? Or am I moving faster than them? It's quite hard to actually stay focused on your own narrative, your own personal narrative, and like going at a pace that's appropriate for you and it doesn't feel rushed, but equally you don't feel like you're stunted and like held back. You feel like you're just going at the correct pace for you and not, comparing. It's like fucking impossible because, like I said, it's the first age really where we can do that, and we look around and people are doing different fucking things. Whereas before it's like you look at your friends and like, oh, they're just also in school. Like, great. Whereas now it's like I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, they're like having a child. And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. Or like I'll look at someone else that has like no job and I'm like, okay, well, at least I have a job. Like, at least I'm like semi put together in comparison to them. I'm not talking about anyone in particular, by the way. I just mean like it's a weird age because you can feel behind and ahead all at the same time, depending on what kind of yardstick you're using. Is that like the right phrase? I don't think I've ever said the word yardstick in my life, but it's mad. It's insane. It's quite unsettling. There's nothing to follow. There's no kind of path to follow because everyone's doing something completely fucking different. But in a way, I really love that because it really does feel like, okay, you don't have the opportunity anymore to copy what's going on around you. You can't now just look at what all your friends are doing and just copy it because they're all doing different things. So it kind of forces you to actually go at your own pace because what are you going to do if you keep trying to match everyone else's paces and like keep up with all your friends? How are you going to do that when like one of them's moving abroad and one of them's like becoming a manager at a certain job and one of them's starting a business and one of them's like living in a fucking tent? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't copy anyone really because like you just have to fucking sort it out yourself, and you kind of have to look inwards and be like, what pace feels correct to me? Because that's your only option now. And there's definitely perks to that because it forces you to be a bit more, take a bit more control over your own life and have a bit more agency over what you want to do and when, which again, that's new. I'm 22. That's like, I've only really had the option to do whatever I want for like not many years. That was a weird sentence, but you know what I mean. But I think in terms of like friendships, it can make it, friendships when you're in school and in college and things, like a lot of it's about proximity, I think, and a lot of it's very easy because you're in the same situations, you're seeing each other a lot, you've got so much in common, and it doesn't really take a fuck ton of effort to hold a friendship when you're a little bit younger. It kind of like maintains itself in a way. Whereas now I think friendships require a little bit more intention. They require a little bit more effort. And I don't mean in like a bad way, like, oh, it's fucking effort, but like you do have to put in effort now, because people have busier schedules. And also like because we're all doing different things and we're all in like different phases of our life, it takes a strong kind of bond, I think, to maintain a friendship when you maybe don't have things in common anymore. Does that make sense? Like, to be able to stay friends and keep that friendship kind of anchored in your bond with each other and the fact that you love each other and that, you know, you make life feel more fun and like make everything feel a bit lighter and like you're just friends. The fact that you can like anchor it in that no matter whether you've got anything in common, whether you're doing the same kinds of things. You know, maybe you're single and, you know, your best friend is like getting married and has a baby. You can still, there's no reason why you couldn't hold that friendship still. Do you know what I mean? I don't personally think you have to be in the same kind of boat as your friends in order to be friends with them, because if that's what you need to stay friends with people, you're going to lose your friends all the time because we're always fucking changing. It's tricky because some friendships are a little bit more surface level and a little bit more reliant on proximity and reliant on, you know, having certain things in common, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they're the kinds of friends that maybe won't last as long, you know, because you'll change and then it just won't feel as natural and you'll be like, I don't know. And that's fine. That's just like a different kind of friendship. There's so many like levels to friendship and you're going to have friends like that. And they're also great. Not every friendship has to last fucking forever. Do you know what I mean? But I think in a way, it kind of really shows, not shows you who your real friends are, but like it highlights what friendships you really, really care about, I think. Even if we can't see each other as frequently and maybe we're both busy and we've both got relationships and jobs and hobbies and like we're going to family things more and like we're becoming adults. You know, like I always found it mad when like my mum would make plans with her friends and it would be so in advance and I would always be like, why the fuck, like, have you planned to go for dinner in like 8 weeks with your friend? Like, that's insane. And she'd be like, you have to when you're an adult, like people aren't fucking free, do you know what I mean? And I was like, but what if you're not in the mood on that day? Like, you've committed so early. Like, you know, like in an ideal world for me, I would make my plans like the day before because I know what I'll want to do. Do you know what I mean? I'll know what I'll be in the mood for in the next 48 hours. I can't tell you whether or not I'm going to feel really social in 8 weeks. Fuck knows what kind of day I've had. I don't know. And I was like, that stresses me out. But now I'm kind of coming into that age where I'm having to do that. I'm having to fit people in. You know, like you'll have those kinds of conversations with your friends where you're like, okay, when can you do next week? And they're like, Thursday. And you're like, fuck, I can't do Thursday. The week after, when can you do? And they're like, Monday. And I'm like, okay, I can do from like this time to this time. Like you have to slot people in with like fucking appointments these days. And it's just wild. Like that's very new to me. But yeah, I think definitely now that we are going through these different phases, navigating friendships is just a different animal. Do you know what I mean? It's a different situation. Friendships are not the same as they once were. And like I said, I am a believer that like you do not have to be in the same boat. It kind of makes things more interesting sometimes when you can't relate to half the shit your friend is talking about. You know, if they're talking about their work and you're like, I have no idea what the fuck, like how your job works or who works there, and they're just venting about like the people in their office and shit, and you're like, drama, but you have no idea what they're talking about. It's kind of refreshing, do you know what I mean? And like you can talk to them about what you do and it's like you have that interest in each other that it can make it fun, you know, to kind of have differences. Because if you're too similar, it can become a little bit too like, what we're going to do, sit and talk about the same 3 people that we know all the time. Like, no, it kind of adds some dimension, I think, now, where there's so much more to talk about. But I think it's crazy though that like, even though we can all be doing very different things, we're all like at our core not that fucking different. We're all trying to answer the same fucking questions at the end of the day. We're all just trying to work out what kind of life we want, what would make us happy, work out our relationships, form relationships with ourselves. You know, we're all, at the end of the day, after the same shit. We're just all going about it a bit differently. It's your priorities, you know. For some people, they would rather focus on finding a relationship, maybe starting a family, maybe moving in and having like a solid like home base with their partner, and maybe they'd want to get a dog. And then they're like, now I'd fucking start thinking about like career and maybe travel or things like that. And that's kind of the order that they'd rather do it. Whereas other people would much rather fuck about and go traveling and like do whatever. And they're like, I don't want to think about anything serious yet. It feels too early. And that's also fine. I think we're all basically doing the same shit, just in different orders, depending on what we want to do first. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's easy to look at like, you know, I could look at people that are like getting married and shit, and I'm like, oh my god, like I am nowhere near that, what the fuck. But then like I've done a lot of other things. My priority would more so be like, I love solo traveling and I love creating hobbies and habits and routines and like setting up a life for myself. And my relationship with myself is like, is kind of just always been in the forefront, and I'm like, everything else like can come after that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just need to be like happy and enjoy my life. That's kind of been my first thing. As soon as I got like a ounce of freedom, I was like, right, well, what the fuck do I want to do? What makes me happy? I would consider that before I would consider living with someone or moving in with someone, or like, that was always more like down the line. I don't think I could think about doing that first, you know? And that's just because that's the way that I work. But other people have different priorities, and that there's nothing wrong with it. But I just think it's interesting that we all compare and feel like behind and shit, when it's like, we all feel sometimes like we're such individuals. Do you know what I mean? And like, we're not in some way. Like, we're all very fucking similar. We're all at our core wanting the same shit. And it's like, you can compare all you want, but like, we're basically all just trying to do the same shit at the end of the day. But, you know, I've definitely had it where, like, you know, you meet up with a friend you haven't seen in a while and you're like, oh my God, you're making my life feel so stagnant. Do you know what I mean? Like, the last time I saw you, you're in this position, and now you're like a completely different person, and I feel like nothing's fucking changed in my life. Like, it's easy to feel like that, I think, especially at this age where like there is this pressure almost to start setting up your life and start like working on your career and like building, you know, it's just like there's been this expectation, I think, around your 20s that they need to be like a time to sort your shit out, when really, I don't know, I feel like, is that ever going to happen? I don't know. But if it is, I feel like, if anything, that would be more so your 30s. I feel like 20s, for most people, like I said, you've just become like an adult. Like, you're not, I think, is the time to experiment, if anything. But like, again, it's just preference, because some people at my age are going out, you know, drinking every weekend, doing drugs, going to like clubs and shit, and that's all they want to do. To me, I'd rather die. Like, I'd rather die. That's just not anything I'd ever enjoy, regardless of my age. But, you know, I look around and there's a lot of people that are still just kind of, I don't want to be like shading on it, but like fucking about, like drinking drugs, like that's what they're doing. And then I look at other people and they're being a bit more like, okay, I'm setting up for what I want longer term. I think I lean more towards like, I'd rather be thinking about what I want longer term personally. Again, do what you fucking want. Who am I to like comment, honestly? But I think I definitely lean more towards like, okay, what's going to make me happy, and like, how can I live in that way now? Like, I don't really want to put that off. Do you know what I mean? Like, that my life has already begun. Like, I'm in it right now, you know? But, you know, it's kind of the same as like with relationships. Some people, right, will be like, long-term, like, end goal, I want to find like a lifelong partner. That's what I want. So they're like, why would I fuck about with like casual dating when that's not what I want in the end? So it would be a waste of my time now. Do you know what I mean? Some people are like, I'd rather just look for it now because I know what I want. Whereas some people are like, that's what I want in the future. But now I kind of want to date around and experiment and a casual date, maybe sleep with some people, maybe go on the dating apps. Even if like you want the same kind of shit, people go about it in different ways, right? And I think that's the same with like just your 20s in general. You know, it's kind of working out what you might want and at what pace you want to go and how you want to go about it. And it's like, I think that's kind of why you look around and everyone's in different positions, completely different positions. But also, when I'm talking about looking at people and feeling behind and feeling stagnant, I do think I need to point out that a lot of the time, I think people feel a bit lost. They feel a bit like, what the fuck am I doing? And they do kind of jump on some sort of bandwagon. You know, how many people have gone to Bali and Thailand? It's insane. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Again, like, do what you fucking want. But I'm pointing out that, do we really think every single one of those people really wanted to go to Bali or Thailand? A lot of them probably just saw a lot of people at this age doing that and they thought, I don't know exactly what I want to do. That looks fun. Fuck it. Nothing wrong with doing that. However, I think it's quite easy when you feel a little bit lost at this age to jump on some sort of bandwagon before thinking about what you actually want, you know? And I think it's not worth, I'm just going to straight up say, it's not worth putting yourself in debt, trying to make it look like you know what you're doing when you don't. Okay, do you know what I mean? This shit is not cheap. A lot of people are doing things that are not cheap. And like, again, if that's really what you want to do, then do it. But I think a lot of people, again, it's like, don't feel like you need to spend a fuck ton of money. Like, I feel like a lot of, now with social media and everything, a lot of people's lives are put across in a very like romanticized way of like everyone's living their best lives and they're traveling and they're doing this and that, and you look at it and you're like, how the fuck is anyone affording this? Like, do you have jobs? I don't understand. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how people can live in this way. Like, I can't even afford basic shit sometimes. And I just think sometimes it's necessary to point out that like it just doesn't mean anything. You know, you can have the best fucking time anywhere if your mindset is good enough, in my opinion. I don't think you need to spend a fuck ton of money to go to Bali or something to have an amazing summer. I think if that's what you need to have an amazing time, then something's wrong. Because really, there's so many fucking pretty places probably near where you live. You could probably go with like your friend or by yourself or with your boyfriend. And like, it's all about your perspective, in my opinion. And I think it's just very easy these days to feel like you have to spend a lot of money and you have to do really extravagant shit, and like you have to spend your summer in Italy and you have to go on a cruise and you have to like work on ships and stuff, you know, and like do all this like fancy shit. And don't get me wrong, it all looks amazing, but it's not what you need to be happy. I just think it's worth pointing that out because it's very easy these days, especially at this age, to be like, oh my god, I feel like shit about my life because everyone's doing all of this cool stuff and like I can't afford it and I don't know how they're doing it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like you have no idea how they're paying for that. You know, you have no idea what their family is paying for, or what, you know, or, you know, you have no idea where they're even sleeping. They might be posting all these photos of like these cruise ships and then they're going to like a hostel. You don't fucking know. And like social media is very fake and you don't need to spend a fuck ton of money to be happy. Your home is, this sounds so like corny, is yourself. Wherever you take yourself, you're still going to be the same person, just in a different place. So like it doesn't really fucking matter. It's great to go travel, it's great to go on holiday. I love traveling. And you know, I will be going places too. I love it. But like it's not like, oh, I want to go there, bye. It's like, no, I have to like actually fucking plan it out and save it and book it off work. Do you know what I mean? Like realistically, most people have to do it that way. So like, you know, I'm just saying at this age it's very easy to feel like your life isn't shit compared to like the shit you see online. And you could be a lot happier than these people. I know this is like a stale topic and we all know social media is fake, blah, 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 but like it really fucking is. Do you know what I mean? But you know, back to the friendship topic, like I actually plan to talk about. You know, I do think it's important to validate that it's very real at this age to feel, you know, like your friends are dissipating a bit and like you don't maybe have so much in common with some of your favorite people, and maybe your friends are moving away, or maybe like, you know, it just feels a bit shitty to be in like a completely different stage to all your friends all the time. Sometimes it can feel shit and it can make you feel a bit lost and it can make you feel like people are moving on without you and like you're feeling left behind, and it's like that's a real fucking feeling and it can feel kind of lonely. Like your 20s are infamously lonely, so don't feel alone in that. But I'm just saying, I don't think being in a different phase to a genuine, real friend needs to compromise the friendship and the relationship that you have with them, you know. Sure, I think it will filter out some, and some you'll be like, honestly, I like this friend, but like I'm realizing I don't give enough of a fuck. Do you know what I mean? To like carve out my time, and clearly neither do they. A lot of the time things just fade out because people get busy. Sometimes that's fine, but some friendships, it's irrelevant what you're doing, where you live, whether you're married, whether you have a child, whether you're single, whether you earn a fuck ton of money, or whether you're like earning minimum wage. Doesn't matter. The point of a friend is to, you know, support each other and make the hard shit in life feel a lot lighter, and to just laugh at things and to have a good time. And in a way, it's kind of irrelevant what you two are doing in your individual lives. When you come together, it's you two again. Do you know what I mean? That's like what a real good friendship is like, in my opinion. But friendship, like I said, there's so many different types of friendships. But like real like chosen family types of friends, doesn't fucking matter what anyone's doing, you know. And maybe you only have one friend like that, that's enough. But like you're never behind or ahead of them. Like there's no such thing. we're all just fucking guessing. Like, there's no such thing. But, you know, it definitely can feel kind of jarring when you're all used to going at the same pace and suddenly you're like, oh my God, I'm 5 miles behind all my friends that I'm talking to right now. What the fuck? Like, it's a weird sensation and it's new. If you're like around my age watching this, it's like the first time we're feeling this. So give yourself a bit of grace. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what it's like when you're older. I haven't gotten there yet. Maybe it gets more normal or maybe it's continuously jarring. I fucking hope not, but you get used to things, you know. But yeah, navigating friendships is definitely a bit different. It definitely takes a little bit more intention and a little bit more planning and effort. It does require more effort to maintain friendships these days. And it can sometimes show you who your real friends are and who you really care about. And equally, sometimes people get too busy in this. You're still great friends with them, but you haven't fucking like spoken in a while. That's also fine. Like, it's just acknowledging that things are going to be different at this age. Do you know what I mean? Your friendships are going to change, and it doesn't mean that your friends aren't your friends anymore. It's just like, it's just an age where shit changes and it's real, you know? It's okay. It's just new. It's just new. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that today. How it's a new experience. It's a new sensation, you know, friendship wise, navigating it when you're all in completely different phases and going at different paces, and not having shit in common with people that you're friends with all the time is new. And it can change things, but equally it doesn't need to, you know? Anyway, I'm gonna go jump in the sea because I'm fucking hot. I'm so hot. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. Comment your thoughts, any experiences that you're having, how you're feeling. But generally, just know that you're not alone in this. This is like cliche of your 20s as fuck. And yeah, I will talk to you next week.